The Orton Effect is an amazing technique for landscape photography because of the way that it adds a sense of atmosphere by blurring the overall image, but without losing any detail. It was originally developed by an American photographer called Michael Orton, who would shoot two differently exposed and focused transparencies and then sandwich them together for printing, which created this blurred effect. But it's much easier to achieve with digital photography, and we can also achieve a much better result overall. So the first thing that we need to do is press Ctrl and J twice to make two copies of the background layer. If you have layers in place already, just click on the top layer, hold down Ctrl, Shift, Alt and E, and that will create a merged new layer at the top of the stack, and then you can just press Ctrl and J. Now if you're using a Mac, where I say hold down Ctrl, you would use the Command key, and where I say hold down Alt, that would be the Option key. So with our top layer active, we just need to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and then we need to dial in an amount that works for the image. Now all images are different, but typically the amount of blur that you need to apply will depend on the overall resolution of your camera. So for this shot here, I'm going to type in 30, so the detail is completely lost, and you still want to be able to recognize the different elements within the scene. And then next up, we just need to change the blending mode of this layer from normal to multiply, then click on the first copied layer, so that's the one in the middle, layer 1 here, and we're going to change the blending mode from normal to screen. So one is a darkening blending mode, the other is lightening, so it kind of balances the two off against each other. But as you'll see here, the image is still way too dark, so just click on that top layer, and then we just need to create a curves adjustment layer. And then we'll just take this bottom left-hand corner and drag it up until output says 25. And then to further lighten the image, I'm just going to left mouse click on the curve and drag left and upwards. If you happen to place a point that you don't want or need, just left mouse click on it and drag it away from the curve, and that will delete it. So with the image looking as bright as it should at this stage, just close down the curves dialog. And then now we're going to merge all of these visible layers into a new layer at the top of the stack. So hold down Ctrl, Shift, Alt and E. So on a Mac that would be Command, Shift, Option and E. And that creates that blended layer at the top of the stack. So now if we just click on Curves 1, hold down Shift, click on Layer 1, we can delete those three layers because we have all of the effects of those layers in a single layer here. So it just reduces the file size that we're working with. So if you're saving your images as layered TIFFs, it reduces the storage space needed drastically. So I'm just going to double click on layer 2 and rename it Orton, just so I know what it is. When you're editing, naming your layers accordingly is really useful because at a glance you can see exactly which layer does what. Even if it's a levels or a curves layer, you can rename it to the specific function that it's performing. So now I'm going to double click over to the right of the layer here, so not on the name, but just to the right of it, and that's going to open up the layer styles. So here we can change several things at once, but the most important thing we're going to do here is work with blend if. One of the problems with the Orton effect is that it completely crushes all shadow detail. It makes shadows really dark, but we can fix that by using blend if. So if we work with the this layer gradient, hold down the Alt key on a PC or Option key on a Mac, and then left mouse click around the R of this layer. So we want to get it to 70 here. So that will reduce the crushing of those shadows. Next up, we're going to change the blending mode from normal to luminosity. And the reason for that is that when we apply this effect, it increases saturation. So by changing the blending mode to luminosity, we aren't going to be pulling through any of that increase in saturation. Now, of course, if you would like to keep that saturation boost, just leave the blend mode left at normal. And then finally, we can work with the opacity here. So I usually go for an amount between about 20 and 30, but I'm going to put it onto 40 here just so that you can really see the effect once we zoom in. So once everything's done in the layer style dialog, hit OK. And then there we have our Orton effect. So let's just zoom in and take a look at the details. So that's our before, and that is our after. So you'll see there that we've maintained all of the sharpness of the scene, but we've just softened everything off really nicely, and it just takes the hard edge away from the detail, but without, as I say, losing the overall sharpness. And overall, across the whole image, it just boosts the atmosphere. So that's how to apply the Orton effect in Photoshop without losing any detail or increasing saturation.